Hey everybody, I'm here with Vic Bondi of Redshift, which is an honor for me. And I didn't tell Vic this, but I used to listen back and forth in my commute on the ride home, Articles of Faith. And Vic was a huge part of Articles of Faith. And when the American Hardcore documentary came out, there he was, and the anger and rage was there complete. Like the whole documentary was so intense, but Vic was really speaking to me with, he's like, you didn't like the outsiders listening to it, and that's the way I felt. It felt like it was mine. Tell me what it was like starting in 1980 or 81 and
81.
with Articles of Faith, and what hardcore meant to you at that time.
Well, I mean, we were trying to establish a new style of music and a new practice for the music industry, I think, at the time, because the style was punk plus even more aggression, more speed, more noise. I think really American hardcore was very focused on this idea of speed and noise and combining speed and noise into something that had never been heard before. And then, it was a very DIY movement. So almost every band had their own label, put their own records out, put on their own shows. The first two Articles of Faith singles were put out by ourselves on a label that we called Wasteland. And then we put on shows at a space on Broadway in Chicago called the Central American Social Club that was run by these Guatemalans. And mostly they would have, sort of Hispanic dances there, but then we would rent it out and we'd flood the place with punks. And it was all ages venue, no alcohol allowed. We would put up the PA, put up the lights, put on the shows. Lots of good bands played those shows: Minor Threat, MBC, Big Boys. So it was a pretty popular entity at the time. So I think what we were trying to do in 1981 was, really affect some substantial change to music as a genre and music as a business. And to some extent, we did both things, right? I mean, you would have never had Nirvana, and you would have never had Sonic Youth, and you would have never had Rage Against the Machine if it weren't for punk or for hardcore. And, the incredible advance of independent labels around the country was a consequence of that DIY ethic. So in a lot of ways we succeeded. It was a fairly modest success. I don't know that you still have big business, with filling the ranks of stadiums with really horrific music. But, a lot of the alternative and independent scene that was created came out of that American hardcore moment. So we succeeded somewhat.
Definitely. And by putting out some amazing music, and throughout the years, you put out tons of solo material. And I watched a couple of interviews that you did over the past couple of days or week, and you had quite an interesting turn in from your musical career. Would you like to talk about that?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're talking about me going to work for Microsoft, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been in, after Articles of Faith, I did Jones Very, then I did Alloy, then I did Report Suspicious Activity, which is still kind of a viable project. I don't know if it's a real band, but it's a viable project. And the same thing's true of Dead Ending, which is still a viable project, which is the band I'm in with Joe Principi and Derek Grant and Jeff Dean. But yeah, in 1995, I went to work for Microsoft and went into the software industry, where I've been ever since. So I suppose it's an odd thing for somebody from the American independent underground to go into work for, the largest at the time, the largest and most successful software company in the world. But it was kind of a good move in retrospect. And it's one of the reasons I've been able to play music ever since. I had a very hard time making my living with music. And so to have a day job that paid well was important.
Yeah, it allowed you. I'm sure working for Microsoft allowed you to still be creative in that job.
Well, I mean, yeah, I was a program manager for Microsoft, so it's a little bit different than being a developer. I think developers are very creative people, and their command of code allows them to find solutions to problems that weren't available to other people. Program managers are a little more prosaic. It's not quite as artistic an endeavor. It's really a matter of, making things work, getting results, getting business done. So it's a little less creative than that. I mean, I don't know. One reason I played music for so long is I've always needed that creative outlet. So that was pretty important. I mean, it is important to note here that I didn't go looking for a job at Microsoft. That job found me. And I mean, it was just kind of it was a real left turn in my life. And it was one of those things where you really couldn't say no to it. In fact, actually at the time, I was teaching, and I told them that they needed to make me a job offer before the school year started, because once the school year started, I wouldn't take a job, because then I'd leave my students hanging. And I didn't hear from them most of the summer. And so at the time, this is in 1995, and I went off to Provincetown. I was living in Boston at the time, went to Provincetown with my girlfriend. And when I got back, my phone machine had all these messages on it. Hey, it's Elliot from Microsoft. Wanted to let you know you got a job. Beep. Hey, it's Elliot. Didn't hear back from you. Wanted to let you know that as part of your job, you get all these benefits. Beep. Hey, it's Elliot. We didn't hear back from you. Wanted to let you know we've decided to offer you another 2,000 shares of stock. So my phone machine negotiated my entire contract with Microsoft. And then when I got back, it was like, oh, all right, well, I have 3 days basically to find other teachers for my classes and, go to the bookstore and have them post other books. So that's what I did. And then a month later, I was having dinner with Bill Gates. It was pretty weird.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you had your solo career. How would you describe that? I know you did one of the ones that stuck out to me was All of Me that you did. Did you take a more traditional approach to songwriting and performing at that point?
Well, so on my Bandcamp site, that the All of Me is that jazz cover that I did there. On the Bandcamp site, I don't know, there's what, 25, 30 songs up there. The Bandcamp site is really about me just experimenting. I have a studio here in my house, and I'll just experiment whatever hits me. There's jazz standards up there. There's blues stuff up there. There's folk stuff up there. There's some industrial music. So it's whatever kind of hits me at the time will make its way to Bandcamp. I've been in the band projects. The band projects have been more, guitar based rock and roll, guitar based punk, guitar based surf. I did the solo record, The Ghost Dances, in 1985. I did another solo record in 2016 with Colin Sears playing drums. But I haven't done, I mean, all that stuff on the Bandcamp side. It's really not a solo record. It's just a bunch of solo stuff that I've just thrown up at whim, So
Okay.
yeah, All of Me was more like me trying to wrap my lousy ass voice around a standard. I don't know if it really succeeded very well.
I liked it. Well, I was looking for the connection between you and DC, and then you just mentioned Colin Sears. I knew there was a connection. Colin Sears being from Dag Nasty.
Yeah, so my dad was in the military, and they were stationed in DC when I was in Chicago playing in AOF. So I would go see them quite often. And then my sister was part of the punk scene in DC. So through her, I met Ian and John Stab and Scream. And, and then of course, like the punk scene was so small back then, I would send mail or call Ian and say, set us up a show, or we set up shows for them in the Midwest, that sort of circular thing going on. And then later on in Boston, when I was in Alloy was me, Colin Sears from Dag Nasty, Roger Marbury from Dag Nasty, and Pat Mahoney, who is in Uniform Choice. So when I did that band, I got along pretty well with Colin and Roger. And then Colin lives in Portland, down the road, about 3
Oh,
hours from here. So I in 2016, excuse me, I started going down there and playing with him. We kind of formed a band, but it was way too hard to really make that work at that distance. I mean, giving up every weekend, and especially if you're like him or you're like me and you're a father and you've got kids and you want to spend time with your kids, well, you're spending all your weekend playing rock and roll. So it didn't really last, but we got the one solo album out of it, Primary, which is you can get that on Bandcamp and Apple Music and all these other things. Spotify, I think, has it too. But yeah, that was the second solo record, but that's a lot different. The first solo record, The Ghost Dances, is all acoustic, just me playing guitar. I did that at Inner Ear in DC. And then the Primary that I did with Colin, I did down in Oregon City. We recorded a studio down there. I forget the name of the place, but
well, that brings me to your current band, Redshift, which I was very happy to listen to, because Seattle has a very diverse surf scene. There's a lot of different genres incorporated within the bands. No one band sounds the same. You have Mel with the Woodhavens, and then you have the Cosmic Rays, and Seattle's very rich. And your surf punk, it's amazing. The guitar sounds so fucking heavy, and I was really happy to hear it. And when we had our miscommunication with getting together, I'm like, I hope he doesn't think that I'm some sort of hack or something like that, because Vic Bondi, he's like one of my bros.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, we played with a few surf bands here. I really like the Destroyers. I think they're awesome. They
Yeah.
got that whole like horror rock surf thing going on. It's pretty cool. We played a show with them in February, but at the time, Adam Gross, our drummer, had surgery, and so he couldn't play. So just me and Mike played an acoustic set. The bass player and I played an acoustic set that night. So we didn't actually play a full band thing with them. But we played with we played with the Surf Vikings and the Evanstones here in town. So we played with a few surf bands, and I'm really looking forward to Surf by Surfwest. I'm absolutely stoked and excited for that. That's going to be kind of awesome.
I was speaking to Eric from the Desolate Coast the other day, and he was saying, I took notice, but he was saying, yes, that the scene, and especially the surf scene, music scene in Seattle, is really growing. And like the festival this year is twice as big as last year.
Yeah, I think that there's like 40 bands playing, something like that. It's like two days or 3 days. It's quite a bit. So it's pretty big. I mean, I honestly, I didn't, when we started with Redshift, it wasn't really there wasn't a conscious effort to be a surf band. So the way that the band kind of came together, Adam Gross, who's our drummer, is really kind of an R&B guy. So he's played in like rap bands in the city, and he plays in a really great kind of funky soul band called Battlestar Kalakala. So he's kind of used to like just finding the groove and holding it and going there. And then Mike Katz, our bass player, is a jazz musician, and he plays in like trad jazz in the city. He plays in a very popular Brazilian jazz band or Brazilian man band, and so his music is his musical influences are again quite diverse and different than mine. What happened was I had the opportunity 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, to um, participate in this theater project where I would be playing guitar in this theater orchestra, which is, for a guy that doesn't read music, that's a bit of a challenge, but I felt like I wanted to try it, right? And so I had to play all the songs by ear. So the other guys would have the sheet music and they'd be blah, 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 blah. And I'd be like, I'd listen the first time we'd go through it, and then I'd like figure out the chords. And then the second time we go through it, I'm like kind of mucking around the chords. The third time I'd get it. So, I eventually was able to hold my own, and Adam and Mike were part of that orchestra. And so as we were chatting about stuff, I'm like, well, let's just get together and jam. And so we started jamming. Originally it was just me and Adam, and then we brought in Mike later on. And it was great. I mean, I think the reason we landed on surf was because for those guys were trying to find their way to a more aggressive style of music. And I was trying to find my way to a more professional way of playing the guitar, right? So, I'm kind of a mediocre player, but if I couldn't play jazz like Mike does, but if you play surf, you're playing kind of structured improvisational music, and it's surf music is jazz music for people who can't play. So for me, it's just kind of a natural place to go. And so then the three of us managed to find our way to this. Now, I mean, I will say, if you listen to the record, you'll see it's not just surf, right? There's some pretty slam and punk songs in there too.
Yeah.
And it's everything. And there's even some there's some aggressive experimental instrumentals in there too, but they all have that level of bite to them.
Yeah. The harmonies are really good too.
Yeah. Those guys bring a lot to the party vocally too. Adam's a really good singer. So it is really a great collaboration. It's actually the first band that I've been in Seattle. All the other bands that I've been in since Articles of Faith were projects that were located, like Dead Ending is really kind of Jeff Dean's project out of Chicago, but all of us live all over the country. And then the RSA, Report Suspicious Activity, I don't know who's the leader of that band. We're all part of that band, but I would say the last time that we recorded in 2017, and we went on tour, I think for about 2 weeks in 2018. That was because Darren Zentek, the drummer, was very keen on, after Trump was elected, he called me up 3 days after Trump was elected, and he's like, God damn, man, we got to put a record out. We can't put up with this shit. So that was the genesis of the last incarnation, or the last time that RSA worked together. But those bands are distributed, they're in different cities. So this is actually the first band where we practice at my house, and we can practice 2 or 3 times a week. We play local shows. We're playing Friday night. We just played Saturday night at Punk Rock Bowling in Las Vegas. So,
wow.
We've been playing quite a bit.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, the Punk Rock Bowling show was terrific. We played with Against All Authority. Those guys were fantastic. What a great band. And also just really nice guys. I just, it's such a pleasure to be part of the rock and roll punk rock community. You meet just really terrific people. We played a show 2 weeks ago with Katie Clover from LA, and she was really nice. She was really sweet. So we're meeting just fantastic people, having some great shows. We played all over Puget Sound, Seattle, Bellingham, Olympia, Bremerton, Portland. We've played out quite a bit, so we're making the rounds.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So are you planning on going out this summer after the festival?
No, we just recorded another record, so we have our second record basically in the can. I think we're going to do a couple more songs, and then I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to record again in July for a little bit, and then we've got shows throughout the summer. We've got shows into the fall. I mean, Adam, I have a full-time job, you know, working software. Adam is a music teacher in the Shoreline Public Schools. So it's not super easy for us to take time off. I think if we get a national tour together or a European tour together, it'll be sometime in the coming year. And I would be nice to work next summer towards, when Adam's off, towards getting a European thing going or a Japan thing going. You know, I mean, we have done nights back to back already on the road, but it would be nice to do, you know, an extended trip, play in front of people outside of Seattle for sure.
Yeah. What did you think first when Tom and Tien came and approached you about playing the festival?
Well, I was excited, man. I mean, like I said, I knew about the festival last year. We've played Daryl's before, you know, in the club, and I knew about the festival. And Dan is the owner, I think, right? And he had talked to me about making sure that we played, and I was like, yeah, definitely want to do that. So he seems to be very enthusiastic about the band, which I appreciate. And so here we go. We're gonna do it. I'm really thrilled to play. I think we are working up some new surf songs for that, just for that festival. So I've been busy writing, and I think we might do a cover of the Shadows song Apache.
Oh,
which I like
nice.
quite a bit. So yeah.
Nice. So for everybody watching, there's going to be a link in the bio to the Redshift new album, and that'll be on Bandcamp. And thank you so much, Vic, for lending me your time. I sometimes schedules are kind of mixed up, but this happens more often than you would think, and I'm just very honored to have you on.
Well, thank you, Ryan, man. It's been really great to have to chat with you, and I'm looking forward to playing the show. Thanks a lot.